Welcome to this explainer. Today we're taking a journey from the little quirks of our daily lives all the way to the unfathomable edges of the cosmos, just to show you how fundamentally counterintuitive reality actually is. We often walk around thinking we have a pretty good grip on how the world works, right? Well, today we're going to look at some hard, verifiable facts that are going to absolutely shatter those assumptions.
Let's dive right into this mystery. What on earth could possibly connect a military bear, a library book nearly 3 centuries overdue, and a ridiculously expensive pizza? Well, believe it or not, they are all entirely true historical facts that sound like absolute fiction. Reality, as it turns out, is much, much stranger than we ever give it credit for.
Section 1. Everyday Truths, Unexpected Origins. We're going to start our scale progression close to home today, breaking down some of the strange truths hiding in plain sight in our everyday lives.
Okay, let's test your intuition right off the bat. Where do you think the Caesar salad was invented? If you're guessing Italy or maybe somewhere in ancient Rome, you are definitely not alone. But as we're about to see, intuition is often a terrible guide to the truth.
It turns out the Caesar salad is actually Mexican. Yeah, it was created in Tijuana, Mexico back in 1924 by an Italian immigrant named Cesar Cardini. The guy literally whipped it up on the fly during a crazy busy 4th of July weekend using whatever he had: romaine, lemon, Worcestershire sauce, and his primary clientele? Californians crossing the border just to escape prohibition.
Sticking with kitchen staples for a second, what about honey? Does it ever expire? What's really fascinating here is that honey fundamentally defies the laws of decay that we're so used to seeing with literally every other food we eat.
So long as it's sealed up properly, honey basically never goes bad. Its unique chemical makeup, specifically its low water content and high acidity, combined with these natural antibacterial properties, means it can last an eternity. I'm not kidding. Archaeologists have literally found pots of fresh, totally edible honey just sitting there in ancient Egyptian tombs after thousands of years.
Now, think about a fact closer to home: your own body. Did you know you are exactly 1 centimeter taller when you wake up in the morning compared to when you go to sleep? It's wild. Basically, throughout the day, gravity is just compressing the soft cartilage in your spine. Then, when you lie down to sleep at night, your spine stretches back out. You are literally shrinking every single day.
Section 2. History's Most Bizarre Moments. Let's see how this builds from everyday quirks to moments in human history that just devolved into pure, absolute absurdity.
Take the Great Molasses Flood of 1919, for example. Picture this. In Boston, a 50-foot-tall tank suddenly explodes, sending a 2.3 million-gallon wave of sticky molasses straight through the city streets. And we are not talking about a slow ooze here. This thing traveled at a terrifying 35 miles per hour, destroying everything in its path, tragically killing 21 people and injuring 150. It just proves that history is way more unpredictable and chaotic than fiction.
And speaking of unpredictable, you've got to meet Corporal Wojtek. So, during World War II, the Polish Army's 22nd Artillery Supply adopted an orphan Syrian brown bear cub. But the soldiers didn't just keep him as a cute mascot. They actually enlisted him. Wojtek was eventually promoted to the official rank of corporal because he bravely hauled heavy crates of artillery ammunition under enemy fire during the Battle of Monte Cassino. A literal bear hauling ammo.
Oh, and remember that overdue library book we mentioned at the start? 288 years. That staggering number is the official record for the world's most overdue library book. It was checked out from Sydney Sussex College all the way back in 1667. And guess what? It wasn't returned until 1956. You can only imagine the late fees on that one.
Section 3. Math that breaks your brain.
All right, let's step away from history for a minute and zoom in on the invisible mathematical structures that dictate our lives, proving your intuition is mathematically flawed.
We're going to ground this crazy math in some academic reality. Have you ever heard of Simpson's paradox? It's this super weird phenomenon where a trend shows up in isolated groups of data, but then completely vanishes, or even reverses, when you combine those same groups. It really goes to show how aggregated data can deeply deceive you when lurking hidden variables aren't accounted for.
Let's look at a famous real-world example so this clicks. Back in 1973, UC Berkeley looked at their aggregated admissions data. On the surface, it showed 44% of men were admitted, but only 35% of women. It looked like massive gender bias, right? But when researchers looked at the side-by-side department data, the paradox revealed itself. Women actually had equal or higher acceptance rates in individual departments.
The hidden variable? Women were disproportionately applying to highly competitive departments with fewer spots, like English, while men were mostly applying to less competitive ones, like engineering.
Then there's the inspection paradox. If you've ever felt like your luck is just terrible when you're waiting for public transit, this paradox formally explains why you are actually, mathematically, completely correct. Basically, if you arrive at a random time, the gap you experience is systematically going to be longer than the mathematical average gap.
So let's break that down. Say buses average out to arriving every 10 minutes, but the real-world schedule obviously varies. Sometimes there's a 5-minute gap, sometimes a 15-minute gap. Think about it. You literally have 3 times as many minutes to randomly arrive during a 15-minute gap than a 5-minute gap. Because the larger gap takes up more time on the clock, you are mathematically way more likely to fall into it, making your personal wait systematically longer than the average.
Okay, let's look at one more mind-bending math concept, the false positive paradox. Imagine you take a medical test that is 99% accurate, and boom, you test positive for a rare disease that only affects 1% of people. What are the chances you're actually sick? Your intuition probably screams 99%, right? But the reality is only 50%. It's crazy because the disease is so incredibly rare, the 1% error rate of that test is going to generate just as many false positives in the massive population of healthy people as it will true positives in the tiny population of sick people. It's essentially a coin toss.
Section 4, the mind-bending cosmos. Let's blast off into our final frontier here, where the unfathomable scale and rules of space make all our earthly paradoxes look completely tame.
We tend to look up at the night sky and think of it as this eternal, unchanging ceiling. But because stars are born, move around, and eventually die, a dinosaur looking up at the sky 66 million years ago wouldn't see the constellations we know today at all. For example, they wouldn't see Orion. Why? Because some of its brightest stars, like the blue supergiant Rigel, are only about 8 million years old. They literally didn't exist yet.
Now, imagine for a second if space wasn't a vacuum and sound waves could actually travel through it. The sun wouldn't be this silent, peaceful, glowing orb. If we could hear it, we would hear it screaming at a deafening 100 decibels right here on Earth. That is literally the equivalent of standing right next to Niagara Falls all day, every single day. So yeah, it's a very good thing space is a vacuum.
We also drastically underestimate distance in space. Just think about how much empty space exists right in our immediate solar neighborhood. When the moon is at its farthest point from Earth, known as apogee, the gap is so massively huge that if you took every single other planet in our solar system, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and stacked them pole to pole, they would all wedge perfectly into the empty space between us and the moon. That just absolutely blows my mind.
And hey, that's just our backyard. Let's zoom way out to the observable universe, which is everything that light has had enough time to reach us from. The universe is estimated to be 13.8 billion years old. So naturally, you'd think the observable universe would be 13.8 billion light years in any direction, right? Wrong. Because space itself is constantly expanding, the observable universe is actually a staggering 93 billion light years wide.
To truly grasp the sheer density of what's out there, consider this quote from theoretical physicist Brian Greene. Hold your thumb at arm's length against the night sky, and it will cover more than 10 million galaxies in the observable universe. Just think about that. Every single one of those millions of galaxies hiding behind your tiny thumb is packed with billions of stars, planets, and cosmic anomalies just waiting to be understood.
But here is the ultimate twist. Because the expansion of the universe is actively accelerating, distant galaxies are moving away from us faster than the speed of light. They are permanently slipping beyond our cosmic event horizon, meaning their light will eventually never reach us. Which leaves us with this final haunting question. As these distant galaxies fade to black, what bizarre, mind-bending realities are out there right now that we will simply never get the chance to discover? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope you leave with a pocket full of mind-bending facts and a completely shifted perspective on our weird, wonderful reality. Keep questioning everything.